What's up, everybody? It's your favorite cousin Rich back once again. And today we're going to do a breakdown, psychological analysis, case study, whatever you want to call it, about Cardi B. Yeah, she's in the news beefing back and forth with Nicki Minaj, and she's getting ready to have Stephon Diggs, baby, while she's still married to Offset, and she just had Offset, baby, and she just dropped the album. So I was like, hey, why not a better time? Remember, this is nothing personal. We're just doing a psychological analysis, a little case study to see what's really going on up in here and how the things formulate to get to where Cardi B is right now. Let's get into it. First, interrupted developmental trajectory. Again, interrupted developmental trajectory. What does that mean in modern terms? Dropped out and ran the streets. Yep, she dropped out of high school and ran the streets. Breakdown: poverty, instability, and neglect freeze growth. Education cut short, replaced by survival mode. How did that play out in Cardi B? Cardi left school early, turned to gangs and hustling as a primary path for a way of survival, money, living, all that good stuff. Let's get into it some more. Sexualized coping, transactional sexuality. What does that mean? Using sex to survive. Breakdown: stripping shaped her self-worth around external validation and performance. Example: at 19, she began stripping. She even said it herself. At 19, she began stripping to escape abuse and what? Make money. Again, as a way for survival. Let's get into it some more. Emotional dysregulation. What does that mean? She beefing. She always in beef, and she got a temper problem. She always angry. She always yelling. She got a temper problem. Can't take her nowhere. Breakdown: difficulty regulating emotions, leading to outbursts rooted in early instability. Example: y'all remember at the Met Gala when she threw that shoe at Nicki Minaj? If you don't remember, let's look at it.
Hold tight, I got it. Hold tight, hold tight.
That thumbnail right there is hilarious, ain't it? Remember I said very personal. We did just the breakdown. Let's get into some more. Hypersexualization. Again, modern term, overly sexual image. Breakdown: reliance on sex appeal as primary identity expression, often born from early exposure to sexualization. In the Black community, I'm pretty sure in the Latino community, Puerto Rican community, Dominican community, a lot of us brown people, we are exposed to early sexualization. That's just, it is what it is. Now, example, one of her biggest songs, WAP. Not one of her most, well, probably I would say one of her most popular songs too. One of her most controversial songs, WAP. Am I a big fan of the song WAP? Not necessarily, but I believe everybody got their freedom of creativity, so it is what it is. But again, WAP, and highly sexualized branding as her artistic signature. Again, that's her highly artistic signature. That's just her oomph. That's her niche. It is what it is. Like I say, sex makes money. She was already in that lane, so it is what it is. High sensation seeking, chaotic attachment. Modern term, can't live without drama. We all know these type of people who can't live without drama. We all know, and she's one. Again, breakdown: trauma survivors may recreate conflict because calm feels foreign. Again, trauma survivors may recreate conflict because calm feels foreign. So you always wonder why people are always in drama, people are always in beef, people can't just be at calm, be at peace. It's because if you've been in a traumatic background, then calm is going to feel foreign. Whenever you're in a calm situation, you're going to have to wreck it. You can't survive in it. You got to survive in conflict. It's just, it is what it is. Conflict is their natural state of homeostasis. It is what it is. Example: her ongoing feuds with people like Nicki Minaj, JT, people on Twitter, Instagram Live, all that. It's just, that's just her. It's just her. Narcissistic defenses and projection. Modern term, always clapping back. Just always clapping back. Just clapping back. Breakdown: reacting to criticism with attack instead of reflection. Again, reacting to criticism with attack instead of reflection. Example: multiple Instagram lives ranting at critics instead of private resolution. When she's always on Instagram live and she always just clapping back at people. Sometimes some people might have a valid point. You know, some people might have a opinion about something that she got going on and they state it. But because you always in this narcissistic defense mode, you can't never sit down, reflect on it, and see if it really applies to you and how can it help improve your life, you know? And we even look at this thumbnail right here, where I'm pretty sure somebody was talking about, you know, her plastic surgery or something. And what did she say? Yeah, and your wife or mom ain't one of them so, you know? And they could have had a valid point. But next slide. Identity fixation. Again, identity fixation. Modern term. Still the same. Money don't change me. Again, you can take the girl out the hood, but you can't take the hood out the girl. Again, we always know these people, you know what I'm saying, who come from rough backgrounds and ghetto backgrounds, and they feel like money ain't gonna change them. You know, they still want to act like the same person who they were before they got the money, before they got the fame. You know, I'ma still keep it real. We hear it time and time again. Does it benefit these people? A lot of times it don't. Sometimes you got to grow. A lot of times you have to grow. When your money grow, when your environments grow, when your resources grow, you have to grow as well. And a lot of times these people don't. The breakdown. Fame reinforced her old habits instead of evolving them. Again, fame reinforced her old habits instead of evolving them. Example, her unfiltered Bronx persona became her brand. She never softened with success. And we know, like I said, it's a lot of people, a lot of celebrities and things of that sort who come from rough backgrounds. And instead of evolving, becoming softer, becoming more humbler, you know, not saying that she's not humble, but what I'm saying is instead of her getting softer and really resting in who she is now, in her fame and her abilities to have more and more resources, she became more harder, you know. She reinforced more of who she was as more so a safety mechanism, you know, like a safety blanket, instead of really shedding who you were in order to grow into who you can be. Just saying. Let's get into it. Trauma bonding, repetition, compulsion. Again, trauma bonding and repetition, compulsion. Staying with toxic people. That's the trauma bonding part, just staying with toxic people. And the repetition compulsion is repeating the same habits over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Breakdown, choosing partners. Breakdown. Choosing partners who mirror childhood dysfunction. So a lot of times it might not be directly what happened in her household, but a lot of times that childhood dysfunction can be inside of the house, outside of the house, your environment, communities, TV, media, books, you know, things that can be fed to you. That's a lot of childhood dysfunction that can happen, right? So who she partners with in her adulthood mirrors the dysfunction that she saw as a child. The examples, we already know. Do I even got to get into it? Offset, now Stefan Diggs. Not saying that these are bad people because everybody got their own thing going on, but the men that she chooses reinforces something that was probably happening in her childhood. Maybe she was cheated on by these type of guys in her childhood and she never learned or grew from it. Therefore, guess what? It's still mirroring her childhood dysfunction. She never learned and grew from it. So we wonder, why did she go from one cheater to another cheater, or this cheater from that cheater, or this type of man to that type of man, and it's the same type of man? This is why. Maternal identity conflict. Again, maternal identity conflict. What does that mean? In modern terms, trying to be a mom and the ratchet star at the same time. The breakdown. Struggles between nurturing role and the sexual chaotic behavior. Again, struggling between nurturing roles versus sexual chaotic persona. I said behavior, but persona, same thing, whatever. Example, tender videos with her daughter culture. Contrast this with her WAP image. And we see a lot of this in media now, where a lot of these entertainment stars have to put on this persona of who they are in public. And they have to keep on going now because we have all these things like Instagram Live, Twitter, TikTok, and all these things. So the persona doesn't stop when you turn the TV off. Now it's 24/7. So now a lot of people have this conflict of being different of being a parent, being a real live person versus, you know, being this celebrity or pop star or culture or whatever the case may be, being this figurehead in culture. A lot of people have this hard time of separating the two now. And I believe she falls into that role now because you can't turn it off. Nowadays, it has to be 24/7. In the past, you were able to turn it off because when you turned the TV off, you turned the radio off, it was done. We didn't have all this access to people that we have now. So unfortunately, with all the access that we have now, a lot of people struggle with this. You know, she's not the only one who struggles with this, but a lot of people do. And a lot of times we're so hyper fixated on these people that we don't really get to see them being actual real life parents. And a lot of times they don't get to be actual real life parents because of the things that they have to do in order to keep up their career. Again, their career is 24/7 now. It's no longer just when you're on TV or when you're on the radio or when you're in the studio and that's it. No, it continues now. So, hey. Body dysmorphic tendencies and external validation. Again, body dysmorphic tendencies and external validation. What does that mean? Fixing herself for surgery. Making Dr. Miami the #1 surgeon in America. The BBL queen. I ain't gonna lie though, when she fixed them teeth, I think that was it. That was when she should have stopped. The teeth fixing, that was grade A. Other than that, you was already pretty. You know, you just need the Anyways, breakdown. Enhancing body to mask insecurity or low self-esteem. This happens all throughout Hollywood. This happens all throughout real world and all that. A lot of times when people get these plastic surgeries and things of that sort, it's really just because they're masking insecurities. They don't like the way their teeth look, their boobs look, their butt look, their tummy look, their legs look. They don't really like it. Maybe based off of how media portrayed that they should look. Whatever the case may be, a lot of people are not happy with the way that they look. So they're insecure about it, and they do all this body enhancing to mask their insecurities. But a lot of times, if you don't fix the insecurity that you have inside and love yourself inside, guess what? You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to love yourself. You know, you're going to be like Michael Jackson. Rest in peace, Michael Jackson. You're going to go from one extreme to another extreme, you know. So sometimes you just got to really love the way that God made you. And examples, breast augmentations, butt lifts, liposuction, and she openly discusses her insecurities. Material overcompensation. What does that mean? Flexing to hide wounds. Again, flexing to hide wounds. We see it so many times. We see it so many times. Celebrities, rich people, you know, even regular people who get $1. The first thing they want to go do is buy a designer bag, buy some designer shoes, buy a nice car, buy all these things, big old house and all that, to mask either insecurities or wounds that they have inside. They want you to know that they have money. They want you to know that they have made it. And what do we always hear? The richest people don't flaunt it. That's because they don't necessarily have those type of wounds or insecurities that they need to hide. It is what it is. Breakdown. Using money and luxury to cover internal voids. Again, why do these people buy these big old Birkin bags and Louis Vuitton bags? Not saying you can't enjoy nice things. I'm not saying that. But why do we overcompensate on these things? Hold these things in a higher regard than they're supposed to be? It's because there's certain wounds and certain voids that we are trying to fill. Point blank period. Sometimes we don't feel good enough. And we believe that these material items will fill those holes that we have inside instead of us really turning inside and healing those things ourselves. And then you can go get the bag, you know? And then at that point, instead of you buying 10, you might only buy 5 or might buy 3. Just saying. Like I said, having these things is not bad. Is why are you doing it? That's the biggest thing. And examples, like we said, flaunting her Birkin bags, diamonds, mansions as a validation of worth. Not just having these things, again, not just having these bags and diamonds and houses and cars. It's not just having them, but it's a validation of worth. Conclusion. And this is a very pretty picture of her, by the way. She's not ugly at all. This is a very beautiful picture of her. Well, anyways, conclusion. Cardi B's story shows how early trauma and street survival shaped her personality. Stripping and hustling gave her money and attention, but also tied her self-worth to sex, drama, and external validation. Fame didn't change her. It rewarded her raw, unfiltered persona and locked her into it. Her anger, public beefs, toxic relationships, surgeries, and flashy lifestyle all trace back to insecurity and arrested development. She escaped poverty financially, but not emotionally. Again, this is just a case study on Cardi B, how she became who she is right now, psychologically, just psychological analysis. Again, nothing personal. I enjoyed doing this. So if you want to watch some more, if you have any other celebrities or anybody else you want me to break down, let me know. Again, this is your favorite cousin Rich. I greatly do appreciate y'all for watching. Y'all be safe out there. Love and blessings.